See if we go ahead and get recorded here. There we go. Very good. Thank you, Steph. We will start with a roll call. Delvo.
Yes.
Schuler.
Here.
Dorf.
Here.
She's Dean.
Here.
Inkvis. She is excused. Parma. She is excused. Reardon.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Excellent. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Matt
Second, Bridget.
and Bridget. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you. Regular business, number 1. Consideration with possible action, request to assign TID increment for the Legacy Hotel project at 1004 Brett Farr Pass.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll provide a brief overview of this one. This is essentially an action that is provided for in the original approved agreement. Essentially, what the developer is doing is, instead of requesting that their payment be sent, their TID payment on an annual basis be sent directly to them, they are asking to assign that benefit directly to their lender. So the TID payment would simply go to their bank instead of to them as the developer. So again, that what essentially just provides, I think, an additional level of security with their lender. Staff has reviewed that request, and we've had no concerns with that particular aspect. Also, really, that could have been done just as a separate assignment document and been simple enough. But as part of that, their lending institution also requested that staff, legal counsel, take and review and add specific minimum guarantee language in terms of what that payment would be. So that is actually an amendment to the agreement by adding a guarantee on the $21 million. So that but was never actually solidified with an actual guarantee language. So that is the language that has been added to the specific development agreement for this project. So Joanne has reviewed a majority of these language. We have one last set of reviews that we think we're fairly sure, 90% sure is exactly the same and matches what you've got, but would like one last opportunity to have her review that and ensure that matches. So we would be asking, recommending approval, subject to one last review by the city attorney. And available for question.
I see also in the attachment with the diagrams of the building, which I think are very attractive. But anyway, everybody's reviewed it and satisfied with the change. It doesn't sound like nothing earth-shattering in my mind. But anyway, questions and comments, please.
Yeah, just a question to Neil or whomever, because it does sound a little bit, I think, like belts and suspenders is the term I would use here. But if I just understand it, what we're guaranteeing to the lender is, assuming the project has a guaranteed assessed value of 21 million or more, then the TID payment, the payment increment payment that would go back to the lender would be X, based on assuming there's a guaranteed assessed value of 21 million. Do I have that correct?
That's pretty close, Mr. Schuler. In terms of what we're looking at is what this language header adds is actually, if it does not meet that guarantee, we have the ability to bill them essentially for that difference. So we have that revenue. Then at that time, we are guaranteed essentially to have the revenue then to make the minimum requested payment that they are asking based on a $21 million value.
Got it.
A little bit, but.
And so essentially it doesn't create any additional liability for the city by including that language.
Nope. Other than it maybe an administrative action of having to issue an invoice if there is in fact a shortfall, which we have done in other agreements. So
okay, got it.
And what's good is it's a pay-go tip, which are the ones, of course, we like very much. So that's great. Joanne shaking her head. She's happy. If she's happy, that's number 1. No, I'm just
always a good sign. Absolutely.
Conversation, yes. No additional, liability, and we specifically added language in the assignment and consent agreement that we are not agreeing to any additional liability on the part of the city except for provided in the consent agreement. Essentially, we are just agreeing to, instead of making the TID payments to the developer, we're making the TID payments to the lender.
sure. I request the same thing. Makes sense. Okay.
Like a motion?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I would move to approve that I'm trying to get back to my agenda. I'd like to move to approve that we request to assign TID increment for the Legacy Hotel project at 1004 Brett Park Path.
Okay, there's a motion. There's a second.
Second.
Second by Matt. Questions or comments on the motion? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Matt, you're drinking your pop. I hear you say aye.
Aye.
I'm just teasing you. Opposed, all those in favor, signify by saying, we did that. Motion carried. Thank you. All right. I had to tease Matt there. Somebody has to.
Oh, it's
All right.
all fair, Gary.
Agenda item number 2, consideration of possible action regarding a request for planning option by On Broadway Inc. on RDA owned properties on Chess Avenue, including parcels 4-91, 4-91A, 4-79, 4-77, 4-78, 4-161, and 4-160.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a brief overview. Hopefully everyone regarding a little project that may be coming on and going on down on Broadway, specifically related to the old redevelopment of the old Fort Square project into a public market project that would be owned and operated by On Broadway. Essentially, what with this agreement that we have brought forward you today is our standard planning option agreement for the RDA owned property that are immediately behind this building that is currently used for parking area. There would be essentially this area could potentially become the location for, I think they refer to it as the sister project to the market redevelopment here in terms of, I think the project being at least considered for that site is a 90 unit residential mixed use building on that spot immediately behind that would kind of be possibly physically connected to the market, but certainly in near proximity that those residents would be able to take advantage of and share the access of what some of the users would be at the market. But in order to allow them to proceed and continue conversations, certainly with the city, as well as their lender and other folks, they are requesting a planning option on those RDA owned properties. Staff will also be working with OBI. There are some also City of Green Bay owned properties in that same immediate area that we will be operated, probably taking through the Economic Development Authority for a similar planning option on going forward. So this essentially kind of allows them and guarantees them that there won't be anything else happening to those particular properties and allows them to work with a private developer who they actually do have someone in mind at this point. It has actually expressed some interest in developing a project in the site. So this will simply allow that planning process to move forward without concerns of someone else jumping in and doing something on those properties with the city. So I know there are several members, representatives from On Broadway who are here on the call and certainly probably would be certainly available to provide an overview of the project if you missed it yesterday, or at least to certainly answer some questions.
Well, first of all, congratulations on a lot of hard work. It's a super project. And I loved the write-up today in the press gazette and the news conference. You guys did a lot of work behind the scenes and wow, it's about as exciting as it gets. We can hardly wait to get going on this. But that's Matt, I'm sure you want to add to that and Alderdorf. But anyway, anybody want to make comments about the project before we can get into details? I mean, this is good, fantastic. Congrats, a lot of hard work.
Do we need to open the floor or not?
I don't see a reason to, but we can. I don't know if anybody out there wants to. Oh, I see. Yeah, probably from the developer's perspective. I gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, Alderdorf, you're right.
Okay, I make a motion to open the floor.
Second.
Second by Matt. All those in favor, single saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We are open to the public. Brian.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, we're happy to provide an overview, but that's, the public market project isn't necessarily as critical to the planning option on this, other than the fact that the reason we are requesting the planning option is because we want to ensure that whatever development goes on that site meets the mutual needs of not only that new development, but that of the public market as well. And so we do have a developer that we've recruited and we've been working with on this particular site that we think is going to complement everyone's needs, including that of the district as a whole. And so I did review the agreement. Everything about it I think looks good to me. While certainly not the hill that I'm going to die on today, there would be maybe one request that I would ask the RDA to consider. And I believe it's standard language, the $500 deposit. But recognizing that we are a business improvement district, in some sense, almost an extension or an arm of the city, trying to do good things for the city, it would be nice to not have to pay the $500, what I presume is a non-refundable deposit. I think it's a fee, and I'll let the director clarify that, but that's a nice to have, not a have to have.
I believe the Alder Johnson is correct on that. That is just usually our standard fee for registering those, but certainly would be willing to do whatever the RDA's desire would be on that. Again, we would be in the same position as Alder Johnson. We're not a hill where we're willing to $100.
It would be $500 less that we would have to raise for our capital campaign, which is, every little bit counts.
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to modify the agreement and to remove the words tender to the RDA, the sum of $500 and 100 cents.
We have
for
to
the
get,
grant.
I don't
Okay.
have to make the regular order of business before we can.
Sorry, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
I'll make that motion when we get back to regular order. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Ardor. Any other comments, questions? What we got, the executive director on Broadway and then the.
Just
I would
maybe-
just defer, Chair. I know Garrett Bader is obviously a member of our board of directors. He and I have been working on this project closely together. I just didn't know if there was anything else he would want to add before you close the floor.
Sure.
I don't know, there's really nothing from here. For those that saw the news yesterday, of course, it's exciting. We're very thrilled for it. And as Brian said, the connectivity of this parcel to the market is our primary objective here. So as we continue working with the proposed developer of that property, I think we could easily come back here in the coming months and maybe modify or alter some things based on how those discussions go. But for now, at least it locks it in so we can verify with our designers and our architects the mutual needs.
Okay.
Minor quick shot of what the project looks like.
Great.
And a quick question, it could be Neil, it could be Brian, could be Garrett. The parcels that are listed in the motion, I didn't know from a map standpoint, are those basically what defines that parking lot that's back behind the old Fort Square building, or are these parcels something else, and making sure I understand what the RDA actually owns?
Yep, these are, and I can actually bring up a map here,
Yeah, please.
Mr. Schuler, but there is, yeah, these are primarily the parking area behind this particular section. That, in addition to the city-owned parcels, several of them are RDA owned, and again, I think it's just the timing of how some of these parcels came. Entity, it's the city of Green Bay itself actually owns the other ones here, but I can actually bring a map up as soon as I have that. I will show that to everyone here.
In today's paper, it said that some of those parking spots are used by residential people. Is that correct?
Yeah, Gary, there's some agreements there with both the Platt and Place building and Old Fort Square uses that lot. So there's some title stuff that we would need to work on that. However, ironically, one of the owners of Platt and Place New Owners was there at the press conference yesterday and spoke just absolutely enthusiastically about this. He's like, we'll work to modify and make things happen to do it. So there's some of that work we'll have to do,
Yeah, right.
but
That's
not
the-
terrible.
Sure. That's the whole idea of the planning option, is that, you have a year to work out those details and
Yep.
make sure everybody's covered.
And I think, Gary, it also speaks again to why we're pursuing the planning option versus having the developer come to you directly, because we recognize that there are parking needs within the district that
Right.
also need to be met. And we just really want to make sure that we're influencing that outcome.
Excellent. So do you have that map, Neil?
It's just sort of getting everything onto the right screen here, Mr. Chairman. 1 second here. So we're going to go to here. I believe it's screen 1. Let's see if this works. All right, so here, make sure I've got the right bearing. Here we go. All right, here is the old building right here. Get that. So here is the main structure right here.
Yes.
So you'll see the RDA owned lots are actually kind of on this end of things here. These properties right here,
Sure.
kind of in this corner. So these would be the properties that are listed in here. So they made, some of these may not even be involved eventually in the project, but at some point, until we have a comprehensive view on exactly what's going to happen on these, the staff felt that it was important to include all of them at this time. These other properties here, City of Green Bay, 1, 2, 3, 4 properties here. This is likely the area, again, these will be taking through at requesting a similar planning option, probably on the exact same language, but running it through the Economic Development Authority here in the coming weeks.
Okay. Okay.
So, but if we can kind of zero in here, yeah, this is all parking area.
Wow. In great space. Very good.
And it's your question, Mr. Schuler?
That sure does. Thank you, Neil.
Okay, any other questions for the executive director or the developer? If not, I'll entertain a motion to get back to regular order of business.
Moved.
Alderdorf?
Second.
Okay, Matt, I'm sorry. Motion and a second to go back to regular order of business. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. So we are back to regular order of business. And now entertain a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend the agreement, and I'm looking at it and trying to figure out if I'm taking out the exact correct words, but under execution of agreement, I think we keep the developer shall, and then we, well, shall upon execution of the agreement, and then cross out tender to the RDA the sum of $500 and 100 cents. Keep the execution of agreement for the granting of planning rights as set forth herein and effective as of the date first written above to February 1st, 2020, and then cross out the sum tendered to the RDA shall be deposited into an RDA bank account. And then the rest keep. I think that's right. Somebody check that over, okay?
Yeah, I believe that's correct, Alderman. I think it's the motion just simply said to remove the reference to the $500 submittal fee. We would like Attorney Bungert and I will remove any
Okay.
relevant language.
Okay, remove, okay, I move that we remove all references to the $500 fee.
It's a motion
I'll second that motion.
and there's a second to the motion. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying, raising your hand. Blue, raise our hand for a change. Raise our hand.
But Debbie can't.
Debbie
see
can't.
Debbie.
Okay.
I
Debbie,
haven't, I
All right.
haven't, course.
all right. Anybody against the motion? If not, the motion is carried. Thank you.
Just for the record, Gary, I just want to mention, I did resign from On Broadway on Monday. I have to limit the
Yes.
amount of things I can do. So I feel like I can vote on that one. Just
Oh,
wanted to
very good.
put
Good.
it on the table.
Thank you for noting that, Bridget. Appreciate it. We'll make sure the minutes reflect that.
And I think, by us dropping the $500 requirement, I think it should be noted that's kind of an exception. But because of the circumstances with On Broadway, et cetera, we can decide on every planning option, whatever you want to do there or not. So this is kind of an exception, but the
the dropping of the $500 is perfectly is appropriate. However, I would recommend then amending it further and putting in at least a nominal fee. And the reason is if there isn't any kind of consideration, meaning a
Yes.
trade within the
Agreed.
agreement, it could make or render the agreement unenforceable,
yes,
which is detrimental to both parties. So
Yeah.
it can certainly doesn't have to be $500. So that motion is fine. But then I would recommend that the RDA pick a nominal fee. I would suggest $5, just so there is some sort of monetary exchange to support enforceability of the option.
So should I withdraw that amendment and just replace 500 with 5?
I think the
What do we-
procedural way would be to do a motion to reconsider, but I think it
Okay.
might just be simpler to you can either do a motion to reconsider and then redo it, or you can make a motion to add in a nominal fee of $5.
Okay, because right now we don't have any fee. So if I would like to make a motion to add in a nominal fee of $5, but then still don't we have to vote on it as amended?
yes.
Yes, okay, so I will do that. I make a motion to add in a nominal fee of $5 instead of 500.
I just
Garrett,
get up where we are here. The thing about, quick question, can we not just make it for good and valuable consideration, like most other agreements where it's noted that there is consideration without an actual dollar being exchanged?
That actually isn't supported under law. You do actually have to have, courts have found that just saying for good and valuable consideration without actually there being any, you have to actually point to some sort of consideration, meaning that both parties are exchanging something. So the city is agreeing to not develop, and in exchange, the person who's receiving the option is paying a fee for that.
Okay, so we have a motion for a $5 fee, and I think Matthew said you second.
I'll second that.
Any other comments or questions in regard to the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, say saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. All right, thank you. Keep up the
Thank
great
you.
work, guys. Good luck. It's a very, very exciting project.
Thanks.
All right, and I think that's all, the only two regular order of business we have, except we gotta have a report from the executive director. Let's see what's here. Director's report and project updates, please.
Just one primary update for this board. Obviously, one of the things we were anticipating having on this particular agenda was an update to the TWG at Fort Rail Yard project. We're continuing to work with the developer here on kind of finalizing that agreement. That zoning has been approved. That has gone through city council. It's 2 readings. However, the staff had made some requests of extra information from the developer prior to bringing it back and finalizing. So the 2 items particularly are kind of some outstanding I guess some maintenance clarifications on some things that are going on at the Broadway lofts in terms of getting that approved by our chief building official is one thing we have asked for. And then the other item is we have actually asked for financial justification, some financial numbers on their request to automatically basically request an extension of the existing TIF district by 3 years. So we kind of said we need, that's something where the city's willing to do, but we need financial justification before we approach anyone on the joint review board for that information. So we are still waiting for that information. We have not received that at this time. So as soon as those 2 items are received, we will be bringing that final revised agreement back to this body for one last look before sending it on to council is our current intention.
Neil and I talked briefly about this earlier. And how long ago did you request this? I mean, they haven't been very responsive, have they?
This was before the holidays. It was around, I think it was around mid-December. It was right after our, I believe right after our December RDA meeting. Again, the RDA actually requested that it was, signaled that this could proceed. But we with that based on staff's kind of actually clarifying and getting that last information that we have. So we have been attempting to pursue that. Obviously with the holidays in the middle, we've been waiting, but now here we are at the end of January. We kind of understanding that they had some deadlines in terms of wanting to get something done in terms of keeping their financing moving. So we're hoping, I think there has been a little bit of change of staff contact. Our understanding is up from the developer standpoint that hopefully that will resolve any outstanding issues and we'll have something here very shortly back to have that proceed. But again, so if anyone, the question is, we have staff, myself personally, has not asked that this be moved forward until those issues have been addressed.
And they have to be addressed before we can move forward. Just a thought, if they continue to not even respond to your request, which is strange, maybe a letter from the mayor or something like that. Another avenue. I'm just thinking another avenue, or myself and the mayor signing. So I don't know, but I just surprised that they aren't being responsive. And what you're asking is exactly what we talked about at our RDA meeting. There's nothing surprises here. So good luck with that. But wow, a little disappointed they haven't responded to your request.
So we're hopefully going to have that hopefully corrected and maybe have something back for our next RDA meeting is our hope. So.
Okay. You've been busy. Other things you want to give us an update on?
Obviously they're just kind of getting ready to leap into next year here. I think we'll be things coming up. We're still anticipating the legacy project moving forward. The shipyard project, we're currently reviewing parks and engineering and planning is all reviewing the 85% complete plans for the public improvements that are scheduled to begin this spring. So hopefully we'll have that design finalized here in the next couple of weeks and try to actually have that project bid out here for this coming up here before the end of February. So that would include the marina, the kayak launch, the trail, the waterfront trail, some of the other waterfront improvements. So we're excited to get that moving. And I think folks will be excited to actually see some project work actually being worked on out there at the shipyard. So we're excited to keep those things moving. Obviously that's that between that one specifically, as well as obviously now the public market project. I guess the last other large project from a coal pile standpoint, we continue to work with. I know that Brown County is proceeding with some engineering, soliciting some engineering work for the redevelopment of the Pulliam site. That acquisition certainly will not happen by the county until we've had and other financing opportunities possibly announced, which I think our latest information from the state is that there's their neighborhood investment grant program, which we both the city and county have applied for a considerable amount of funds. Essentially won't get announced until I think the third week of February at this point. So that's kind of that's the first domino, is actually being able to proceed with the acquisition, is to have those funds get announced and approved. That will certainly, that flurry of activity would begin as soon as that was done, including not only from the county working on the Pulliam plant site, but also with the city staff working directly with Sea Rice Coal Company in terms of evaluating their current site, working on appraisals, beginning to figure out exactly how to transfer that site over to the city if and when they can move to the Pulliam site. So once that one breaks and that acquisition happens, there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that's going to we're cautiously optimistic. We've been this far down the road before on this one. We're hopefully that if that funding comes through, we think that's going to clear the path for that project to begin moving forward as well.
It's moving, slow but sure, but it's moving. Okay. At our next meeting, February 8th, we're going to get an update on all the properties that we own and the plans, etc.
Yes, sir. That is correct. We have Rhonda Bitney on our staff has actually prepared the summary of that report. We're asking her to kind of formatting that. It's kind of a great big spreadsheet right now. It gets a little unwieldy.
Yes,
So we're trying to kind of refine that down into a little bit more usable report for RDA members to consume. We'll certainly have that detailed table available at the meeting if anyone has specific questions. We're trying to get that condensed down into a little bit more readable report for the RDA members. So, but that should be ready to go for the meeting on the 8th.
Richard, I hope you can make it on the 8th, because I think I'll give you some good background as far as all the properties we own and some strategies and how we're going to get them back in the tax rolls, if you will. I mean, I just good background information for all the members. We're looking forward to that. Any other questions or comments? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the
Adjourn.
motion.
Matt,
Give it to Matt. Second.
Matt, and second by Alder. All those in favor, sing aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.